And joining us now is the key lead Democratic negotiator, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who put this deal together over the course of months. He's also a member of both Senate Appropriations and Foreign Relations. Senator, thank you very much for being with us. So it is a huge bipartisan triumph. It also means you have to compromise on a lot of key Democratic priorities, namely a path to citizenship for Dreamers. I want to ask you about them and how they are excluded from this.
Well, this is a true old-fashioned compromise. There are going to be Republicans that will vote against this. There will likely be Democrats that are going to vote against this. It certainly doesn't have everything I think needs to be part of comprehensive immigration reform, including that pathway to citizenship. But it also clearly doesn't have major elements that Republicans want. As your reporters noted, many of them want to completely close the border so that no one ever has the ability to present and apply for asylum in the United States. What I know, Andrea, is that the people I represent back in Connecticut just want this problem fixed. They know that we can't handle 10,000 people crossing at the border every day. But they also don't want the country to shut itself down because we want to rescue people from terror and torture, people who are legitimately applying for asylum. And that's what this bill does. It gives the president new authorities to better control the border, especially when presentations are very high. It reforms the asylum system, so you're no longer going to have a 10-year wait to get an asylum claim heard. You're going to be able to get those claims processed in about 6 months. And it helps our cities with these migrants showing up without the ability to work. They're crowding the streets and the homeless shelters. We're going to get migrants the ability to work much faster when they're in line to apply for asylum. So it is a true compromise. But I think that's what we're sent here to do, is to take these really big, tough issues like immigration and find bipartisan paths forward.
And I want to ask you about something that I know is very close to your heart. That is Ukraine. The $60 billion in security aid to Ukraine is vital. I've been talking to military experts and diplomatic leaders on this, and we are facing a real showdown with Vladimir Putin if they don't get the weapons that they can only get from the U.S. The Europeans came through, and this is a matter of U.S. leadership, of the ATACMS, of air defense systems that Ukraine needs desperately to hold on. And Vladimir Putin has, endless numbers of troops to throw at it, whether they're from prisons or elsewhere, untrained. He's throwing cannon fodder at it, and he can hold out longer than they can.
Yeah, listen, we cannot allow Ukraine to lose this war. We cannot allow Kyiv to become a Russian city. And this is a moment of peril. On many days on the front, the Ukrainians are firing 1/4 the number of artillery shells that the Russians are. They used to shoot down 100% of the incoming rockets, but they don't have enough interceptors any longer. So on some days, they're only shooting down half the rockets that are coming for Ukrainian cities. We need to be clear with the American people. If you don't stop Putin in Ukraine, there's a very good chance that he is going to move on to a NATO country, and it will then be U.S. men and women who will be fighting and dying in Europe. That's not hyperbole. That is a potential reality. So the stakes here are really high. This bill gets funding to Ukraine so that they can survive through the next American election, but it also fixes a broken border. It reforms our asylum system in a way that can build people's confidence in legal pathways to the United States. I just think this is such an opportunity, a bipartisan compromise to fund Ukraine, to fund Israel, to provide $10 billion of humanitarian assistance to Gaza and other places around the world, and solve, or at least make a big down payment on solving, our broken immigration system. We don't get that opportunity very often here in Washington, to have the two parties come together around a package that significant, and I hope that we get it done.
And regarding UNRWA, because, I know that the U.S. suspended further money to UNRWA, but this bill would deny it going forward. And according to all the experts, including U.S. officials whom I speak with, the UNRWA is the only agency that can get the relief from the Rafah crossing, from the other crossing, into where it's needed inside Gaza. There's just no other way.
Well, we were able to preserve the full amount of humanitarian funding that the president requested, $10 billion. That funding is going to get into Gaza. Yes, as part of this bipartisan compromise, there are restrictions right now on the way that that money flows to UNRWA. UNRWA does have to work to get its act together to make sure that it holds its own employees accountable. But we believe that there are ways to work with allies to make sure that UNRWA continues to be funded and to use U.S. dollars to support other partners that do have significant on-the-ground operations inside Gaza. This is a really important part of this bill, the humanitarian portions of this bill. It hopefully is a reason why Republicans and Democrats will support it, and we'll find a way to get that money to people who need it on the ground in Gaza.
I want to ask you, I know what the speaker said to Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, that he doesn't take orders from Donald Trump, that Donald Trump's not calling the shots. But this border bill includes everything that they had ever asked for, just about. And it's certainly more than has been done for decades. And for them to now say that it's dead on arrival on the Hill, who's calling the shots? And what are you to say to the House if they let this die and let Ukraine go down? And doesn't the president have to give a speech before the State of the Union? Doesn't he have to go on prime time and make the argument for Ukraine and for his border bill?
Well, there's a clear choice for Republicans. Fix the border or keep chaos at the border because it helps Donald Trump. That's the choice in front of Republicans today. We have a breakthrough, landmark, bipartisan compromise that will help the president better manage the border, that will help fix a very broken asylum system. But it will also likely mean that there are fewer scenes of chaos this summer and this fall on the border. And Donald Trump wants those scenes of chaos. He wants there to be disorder at the border because he thinks that helps him politically. That's the choice Republicans are going to have to make. And I think we can mount a public campaign of pressure in this country because regular Americans don't care about the politics of this issue. They want leaders to come together, put politics aside, and solve big problems like the border. Hopefully, senators from the Republican Party will hear that message in the coming days.